Yo, what's good everybody? We are back for another video, and in today's video, what we're going to be talking about today is content marketing and kind of breaking down what content marketing is. Essentially, it's kind of targeting the right people and how to actually print money off of attracting the right people. So kind of jumping into it, kind of based off what content marketing is essentially what your whole social media page is based around. Like I always preach, it's kind of based around how you want to be portrayed as, or what you like to put out on the internet. I do from experience working with previous creators. The more the value, the more you build trust, the easier it is to sell to some of these people. So what I'm going to be doing is, well, I can't speak about anything as far as the offers for right now, but what I can do is I will kind of break down some of our previous clients. I'll specifically talk about the client we cash collected a little over $1.1 million just last year alone. I can put that right here on the screen. Obviously hitting 100K months. And so kind of breaking down, the content marketing, like I said, it revolves around, you and your content, but it's specifically more about what you're talking about in your content, right? For this specific person, he was a tattoo artist. And so his content was always revolved around, obviously, him doing tattoos, him being in the shop. He was the shop owner, so he was the business owner. So resonating with not just tattoo artists, but resonating with shop owners, people who have overhead, who have to manage employees, etc. Once we partnered with this guy, we realized that there was a big opportunity in the market for this specific creator. There was no one else essentially doing this, and there's still kind of no one else really doing it. We knew that there was an angle that we needed to hit. We just had to hit it correctly. Now I will say, switching over, he did have to switch his content just a little bit, because as we all know, tattoo artists who start off are similar, closer to the younger generation, to where they're just, broke and dirt poor. And so what the content kind of had to revolve around was mainly just him speaking more as a business owner, but still being himself. I think, that's kind of what stuck out. As far as for, a tattoo artist, there aren't really many tattoo artists out there who are actually successful. And so with his content, kind of how we had to do it was not switch up anything that he was already doing, but it was more in the sense of, like I was saying, speaking from a business owner. So he had to talk about, what's life like as a business owner doing 50K a month as a tattoo shop owner, right? And so kind of breaking that down, when you portray that on the internet, you start to attract the right people. And so if you're out there, you're talking about, trading, you're talking about, like, what a client that we're about to launch with them is, he talks about taxes and retirement for people 35 and up, right? And so when you speak about things like that, you call out the right person. Just recently today, I was going through one of our clients' DMs. He has people foaming at the mouth ready to buy. And we're running a little community right now, but I'm starting to think that we just go immediately into the high ticket. We are cooking the high ticket, so I can kind of give you guys a little story on that, or a little breakdown on that, of kind of how we're running the high ticket. Essentially, it's just like kind of how we preach VSL, Typeform, or call funnel. Also, too, just a little value in there for anybody out there who is running offers. No offense, but with AI and things now, guys, you guys don't have to use Typeform or Calendly or any of that stuff now, or hosting your website as well. Like, you don't need ClickFunnels and all that. No offense to them, those platforms are great, but I mean, leveraging everything that we have now, I mean, essentially you don't have to pay for none of these softwares. Everything can be done in-house, to where you can maximize profits on your business. Because once we launch, I mean, essentially our profits are going to be no less than 90%. So yeah, just a little side note in there. If you guys really are big into AI, you use Claude or anything like that, I do highly suggest you sit down, take some time, and actually build some of these things out. And they really, I mean, if you're good at prompting, they really just take one prompt and things are done. Especially for like hosting websites. We host that on Versal through GitHub. Like things are super smooth now. Our emails, we use Resend. Like we're pretty much dialed in on the aspect of the business. I think our biggest expense may be the school community, which, like I've been telling you guys, not really a big fan of school anymore. But this is something that our client was already, or he already had before we partnered up with him. But yeah, so going back to our previous client who we no longer work with, the tattoo artist. So when we started to actually hit 100K months, obviously it came down to, what type of content he was posting. Obviously, like I was telling you before, he was reaching out to, like I said, more of those 10 to 15K month tattoo artists / business owners. We were leaning more towards, service-based businesses. But, I think if that person were to actually hone in and dial in, he could literally take over the market in tattoo artists. But, to each their own. So yeah, so essentially, like I was telling you guys before, like we ran for this guy, it was VSL call funnel. We had a fire VSL. It was maybe 7 minutes long. We had an average watch time of maybe 5 minutes. I can pull that up. Don't quote me on that. But we were getting booked calls. Of course, the ticket was a little bit higher. This was high ticket. We started off, it was 3K for 1 month and then 7K for 3 months. And then we started to realize that people were biting that. And this is what I mean by when you structure yourself the correct way, you can charge these large amounts of money without having to second guess yourself. So, of course, this person was a tattoo artist, but he wasn't just a tattoo artist who was just, charging $100 for a tattoo. He was already selling a high ticket service or product. Well, he was already selling a high ticket service, which was the tattoos. Minimum to even walk in the shop or get a tattoo from this guy was $4,000 off rip, right? Now that's just the minimum day wage. And so when you position yourself in that way, you can then charge what we were charging. We started off at $3,000 for 1 month, $7,000 for 3 months, and we eventually ended up raising the prices to $5,000 for 1 month, $10,000 for 3 months, right? When you position yourself like that, like I was saying, you can then charge these prices and people will have no problem buying. Now, of course, you're going to have those people who come through. You're going to have, terrible leads, of course, like that. But I do highly think when you do call out the right person, it's kind of like a no-brainer to, when someone comes through your DM, someone book a call, that it's easy for them to make the decision, especially when you have the right back-end selling systems to help them make that right decision. So whether if that's frequently asked questions, some free lead magnets, how to actually be better with, something actionable for your audience or your customers to do immediately as they, book a call, or immediately as they come through your funnel or your community or something. Give them something actionable. Everyone who buys something is most likely on their 10 toes the first 48 hours of when they purchase that product or service. And so when someone does that, when you guys are out there and you're selling something to someone, that product needs to be great to where, the first, like I said, not even, don't even wait 48 hours. Immediately as soon as they come through, go ahead and give them something actionable to do. That way they feel that connection to where it's like, wow, I just paid something and I got something in return, So yeah, like I was saying, this isn't going to be a long video. This is specifically towards content marketing and, posting the correct type of content. Of course, you're going to have those people out there. And like I'm always going to say, it's how you want to be portrayed on the internet. I do think, when you post the right content, you can charge prices, premium prices. And it also isn't a headache, right? To, when you portray yourself the right way, it's also on the type of customers that come through, right? So when you have a $25 product, you're going to have a $25 mindset that comes through. You're going to have people who churn. You're going to have people who want more, because they only paid $25, right? But when you have someone who pays you $5,000 or $10,000, they understand what it takes to actually get results, right? They understand. Now, that doesn't mean you sit here and slack or anything like that, but they understand what it takes to get results. They understand that, hey, this isn't something that's going to be something that's going to happen overnight. A lot of those low ticket products especially if you're not ascending them into a higher ticket products. A lot of those low ticket products, when not done right, it's just people who are just sitting there looking for short-term gains. Your churn is outrageous. Those are the type of people you get when you offer lower tier things. And so, you know, kind of coming back around the whole video is when you're doing content marketing, you always want to make sure that, now of course content is content, right guys? You don't have to sit here and, you know, give your whole life story on the internet, especially as far as a content creator. Like, you know, just be real, give value. You know what I mean? Don't always ask. You know, like a lot of these content creators don't even know how to ask. So, you know, providing the value is the main thing they know how to do, right? So yeah, I just wanted to come here, guys, kind of break that down to you. Something just super random that just popped up in my head. So if you guys found that video valuable, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be dropping way more videos. I think my next video, I'm going to be sitting down at the desk and kind of giving you guys something visual so that you can see. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Stay safe. Peace.